Hi everyone, I'm Lotus. I'm 53 this year, living on a modest monthly pension of 2,000 RMB. My son is busy carving out his career in Shanghai, and since my husband passed away many years ago, I've been living quietly by myself here in Shenzhen. This morning, I spent 3 hours rehearsing with my dance troupe. I usually skip breakfast, but right now, my stomach is starting to rumble. I haven't even changed out of my dance clothes yet, but I need to whip up a quick lunch. Do you usually eat breakfast? A lot of friends have been asking me in the comments, why don't I find a job now that I'm retired? Today, I want to sit down and share my heartfelt thoughts on this with you all. Honestly, I think there are generally two types of people who go back to work after retiring. The first type simply can't sit still and needs something to pass the time. The second type might dress it up nicely, but bluntly speaking, they just need the money. I happen to fall into a third category. My pension isn't high, and I certainly like to stay active, but I simply refuse to go back to a 9 to 5. Some people call me lazy, which I don't accept for a second. Deep down, I know the truth. It's not laziness. It's just that I've exhausted my energy working hard for most of my life. I really don't want to force myself anymore to be bound by rules and read other people's moods. Besides, the job market is incredibly tough right now. Even young people struggle to find work. If someone my age goes job hunting, we'd likely end up doing manual labor like cleaning or serving. We might not even earn much, but we could easily work ourselves into sickness and end up spending it all on medical bills. Among those who claim they just can't sit still, very few actually love the ground, mostly. It's just a way to save face. As for me, I film my little videos, cook the food I love, and go for walks when the crowds have thinned. My days are full, yet wonderfully free. Retirement is a blessing earned through a lifetime of hard work. Why tie yourself back to the workplace? If you have less money, you simply spend less. Comfort and peace of mind trump everything else. To the sisters watching this, are you continuing to grind after retirement? Or are you like me, peacefully embracing your own slow living? Today, I'm making 2 dishes for myself, a simple stir-fried green vegetable and a comforting pork rib. Stew, nutritious, straightforward, and I am completely content. Many ladies who have just retired tell me they don't know what to cook when they are home alone. They either throw something together carelessly or just eat leftovers. I believe eating well is the most important thing. Just as a farmer's fertilizer determines the quality of the harvest, the food you put into your body dictates the health you get out of it. So, for the sake of our own well-being, let's roll up our sleeves and start cooking. Have you ever noticed many of life's deepest truths are actually taught by life itself? If I didn't have this 2,000 RMB pension every month, I'd probably still be out there working myself to the bone. It may not seem like much, but it's the foundation of my peaceful life. I often wonder, in the second half of life, what is truly the most important thing? 1,000 people will give you 1,000 different answers, but mine boils down to just 2 words: living well. I'm slightly ashamed to admit it, but the true weight and groundedness of living well is something I only slowly realized and gradually confirmed after I retired, of course. There was a catalyst for this. Over the Spring Festival holidays, I met many peers and elders. In everyone, especially the older generation, I read so many life stories. In the second half of life, what really matters? Health, undoubtedly. Everyone agrees on that. But once you cross into your 50s, absolute health is almost impossible to find. Even knowing its importance, there's an inevitable, quiet resignation to the passage of time. Emotional well-being. Its importance is increasingly seen as a guiding light. Reading, traveling, fitness, and nourishing the soul have all entered our daily lives. Yet, truly stable emotions always seem to stay just out of reach. Hobbies. At our age, having a hobby is a beautiful thing, but ultimately, it remains a niche privilege that not everyone can possess. Family bonds are crucial, of course, but as we grow older, holding onto these connections becomes more a matter of serendipity than certainty. When we age to the point of losing our independence, who will truly be by our side? As for fame, wealth, and status, these gently fade away with the years once retirement begins. Considering all this, I asked myself again, in the second half of life, what is the most important thing? I wanted a tangible answer, an answer like a seed. Find it, plant it, and let it take root. As the old folks say, with a seedling, you don't worry about the growth, or as poetry lovers might put it, quietly await the blooming of the flowers. When I stepped out of the role of a retiree and truly returned to the track of my own life, I suddenly realized there's a simple, authentic phrase that people slowly forget amidst their endless busyness and chasing, and that is living well. Living well might sound broad and abstract, but it is actually the most concrete and tangible thing of all. Like a root system, it connects to everything beautiful. All the things we consider important, health, emotions, family, hobbies, are intertwined with it. And honestly, living well isn't hard to do. A healthy body comes from eating well, sleeping well, and exercising well, regardless of how much health we ultimately harvest. As long as we make the effort and move in the right direction, that is enough. Good emotional health stems from a love of learning and continuously nourishing the soul. For instance, earnestly reading a few books, taking the time to write, stepping outdoors to admire the seasonal flowers, or genuinely listening to others. Every time we do something well, we water the soil of inner peace and let it bask in the sun. Intimate relationships grow from genuine interactions. When spending time with family and friends, avoid petty calculations, comparisons, and complaints. If we try our best to understand, appreciate, and accept each other, the affection we give will naturally be returned as love. A lasting hobby relies on earnest persistence. A fleeting interest solves a temporary worry. A lifelong passion sets the tone for your entire life. Without persistence, a hobby is just a flash in the pan. Only by extending it, cherishing and nurturing it through repetition, can we quietly await its fragrance. I remember when I was little, my biggest fear was eating alone. We were poor back then, living in the countryside. If I came home from school and my parents and older brother weren't back yet, I would rather starve than pick up my chopsticks alone. Even though the table only had a single vegetable dish and my mother's homemade pickles, sitting around together, sharing bites from the same plates. That was what made a meal flavorful. But gradually, I discovered that eating alone is actually quite wonderful. I don't have to accommodate anyone else's tastes. If I want spicy food, I eat spicy food. If I want soup, I sip it slowly. I can watch a show while I eat. And if I laugh out loud, no one tells me I'm being noisy too. I can watch the scenery outside the window, space out, clear my mind, or get lost in thought, completely undisturbed. Sometimes, when I don't feel like cooking dinner, I just make a pot of instant noodles, add an egg and a slice of ham, and take it to the window to eat. With the breeze blowing and the street lights glowing outside, I chew my noodles and suddenly realize loneliness can actually feel incredibly grounding. Have you ever had that moment where you suddenly realize that eating alone is no longer lonely, but rather comforting? I suppose that's just human nature. From fearing loneliness to enjoying solitude, we learn to befriend ourselves. I no longer wait for someone to fill my dinner table, because I have become my own most reliable companion. At 53, I have finally found the answer to happiness in life, a happiness I can actually hold on to. From now on, I no longer seek a perfect life. I only wish to live well. I won't obsess over the results. I just want to walk every step with care. I won't fret about getting older. My only thought is to embrace the present, dedicate myself to my channel, keep my body fit, live earnestly, and treat everyone whose path crosses mine with kindness. In 2026, my greatest joy is having planted the seeds of living well. I was born in 1973. Are there any fellow 70s kids watching? What do you do every day now that you're retired? I'd love to chat in the comments. Thank you for keeping me company. Let's grow old gracefully together.